According to Indians.org article on timber wolves, wolves roamed North America for hundreds of years and were often held by Native Americans with the highest esteem. They believed wolves played a significant role in the ecosystem as well as delegating a balance of the land. Many Native American tribes looked to the wolves for guidance on the importance of family, hunting, and foraging. Some tribes even believed wolves were spiritual beings that could impart magical powers on them. It wasn't until European settlers came to the New World that wolves were considered dangerous. I would like to begin with a brief introduction about wolves, followed by when and why the eradication of wolves began, conditions in Yellowstone after wolves were exterminated, oppositions of wolves being reintroduced to Yellowstone, followed by the importance of wolves' reintroduction to Yellowstone and supporting information for that reintroduction. The wolf's scientific name is Canis lupus. They're a mammal and a carnivore. They're social animals that live in groups called packs, which typically include the alpha pair, their offspring, and other non-breeding adults. In the wild, wolves can live anywhere from 8 to 13 years. Wolves can thrive in a diversity of habitats, including the tundra, woodlands, forest, grasslands, and the deserts. When and why this all began. European settlers began to explore the New World, heading west towards California around 1850. They were hunting buffalo, elk, and deer, which causes significant loss to the wolves' main prey. Around 1894, farmers complained that they were losing livestock due to hungry wolves. People began to call out for a complete eradication of wolves. The last wolf was reportedly killed in Yellowstone in 1926. So between 1926 and 1973, there were no wolf sightings reported. After the wolves were exterminated, conditions in Yellowstone's ecosystem began to deteriorate and the elk population exploded. According to an article in Walk for Wolves, a team of scientists visiting Yellowstone in 1929 and 1933 reported the range was in deplorable conditions when we first saw it in 1929, and its deterioration has been progressing steadily since. Biologists were worried about the eroding land and dying plants throughout Yellowstone. Elk were multiplying and trees such as aspen and cottonwood suffered from overgrazing. To try to combat this issue, Park Service rangers started to trap and move elk, but that did not work, so they began to kill them. This practice continued for more than 30 years, and while it helped the land quality from worsening, it did not improve the conditions in Yellowstone. The destruction of landscape affected many other species, including beavers, grizzlies, birds of prey, and other small mammals. With no wolves, the coyote population increased, which led to a decrease in the number of pronghorn antelope since they were the coyote's main prey. Scientists began to believe that they would need to reintroduce the wolf to try to combat the ecosystem throughout Yellowstone. But the biggest opposition wolves for that reintroduction to Yellowstone were ranchers. Their livelihoods depended on livestock, and if livestock were killed by wolves, they would lose money. Another opposition were individuals who were worried about being attacked by wolves. According to Melissa Barton, author in Journal of Young Investigators, Restoration or Destruction, the Controversy Over Wolf Reintroduction, wolves, unlike any other large predators such as grizzlies or cougars, are frequently labeled by the general public with negative terms such as cruel and vicious, and often considered mere killers with no valuable role in the ecosystem. But it was time for a change. The gray wolf was not listed on the endangered species list until 1974. Scientists tried to determine what needed to be done to change the effects to the ecosystem in Yellowstone. Previously, it was believed that to restore the ecosystem in Yellowstone, they would need to start from the bottom up and work starting with plant life, insects, small rodents, birds, large herbivores, and then top predators. But after the reintroduction of wolves in Yellowstone, it was found that large carnivores have a significant effect on the rest of the ecosystem. According to Jeff Wagner, author of Mission, Wolf Education versus Extinction, A Wolf's Role in the Ecosystem, this effect is known as the trophic cascades. trophic referring to the different levels of the food chain, cascade being similar to a waterfall cascading off the edge of a cliff. It scatters out. With the return of the wolves to Yellowstone, elk and deer were stronger, aspen and willows were healthier, and the grasses were taller. This is because wolves regulate prey numbers and movements, which allowed streambank habitats to recover, reducing the number of coyotes, as well as providing food for scavengers such as grizzlies and eagles. It also had a significant effect on the landscape. When wolves chase elk, the elk must run faster and farther. The elk aerated the soil with their hooves, allowing the grasses to grow. Since elk can't remain stationary for too long, the aspen, willow, and cottonwood trees were able to fully recover because they were no longer overgrazed. With coyote populations reduced by almost 80%, pronghorn antelope population recovered, and raptors such as eagles and osprey have more prey. The endangered grizzlies also had more food since they were able to successfully steal wolf kills and feed their cubs. Wolves have a significant effect on the wildlife. They play an important role in maintaining the health of the wildlife herds because they hunt the young, old, physically impaired, ill, and diseased. They also help reduce the transmission of diseases such as chronic wasting disease and brucellosis. With elk forced to move more, the aspen groves were able to regenerate, which improved the habitat for beavers and songbirds. So although this is a lot of supporting information, it's difficult to prove. Some studies done during the 2003 year showed that wolves were only reportedly killing around 500 sheep in Montana, while coyotes reportedly killed around 11,800, according to Walk for Wolves post Wolves in Our Ecosystem. Many who argue for the reintroduction of wolves have also created a fund to help ranchers cover the loss of cattle, but it is not easy since sometimes difficult to prove the cattle was killed by a wolf. So to quote from the Sierra Club of Wyoming, although it may be easy to focus on the perceived negative impact of wolves, it is important to recognize the actual benefits they provide our ecosystem. Regardless, it is difficult to prove the return of the wolves to Yellowstone